In 1827, Joseph Niepce captured the first photographic image using a primitive camera, and in 1859, Edward Leon Martinville invented the first sound recording device, the phonautograph. And you can see through the 19th and 20th century, audio and video evolved at a gradual rate, and fast forward to the early 21st century where it exponentially grew. The exponential growth occurred once AV technology transitioned from analog to digital. This transition allowed AV and ProAV to be integrated in our lives commercially and individually almost overnight. Now both AV and ProAV technologies can interact in endless ways, giving it nearly limitless abilities to integrate in our daily lives in almost all aspects. In the late 90s, company presentations were over dedicated computers connected to projectors using VGA analog connections, some VGA plus 3.5mm audio connections. Today, most conference rooms or event spaces offer BYOD, which offer connectivity via VGA, HDMI, DisplayPort, or wirelessly. Not only has AV evolved for devices, but AV now includes options that were once under the umbrella such as IT, facilities, and/or security. For instance, ProAV uses room occupancy sensors to turn lights on and off, or any equipment that needs to be active once people are in the said vicinity. Cloud-based voice service integration is also making its way into conference rooms and event spaces, giving ProAV equipment the ability to control the space simply by using our voices or smartphones. Integration between Crestron Zoom rooms and Alexa for Business is real. Many of these integrations are also possible due to the evolution of AV and ProAV into the IT world. Most AV and ProAV devices have a network card, also known as a NIC, which has a MAC address. And MAC stands for Media Access Control, which is a unique identifier assigned to the network device, which is what you would consider its digital fingerprints. So no two NICs have the same MAC address. So if you're interested in the ProAV field, the first thing you need to understand is that you'll need a basic understanding of IT. Layer 2 and IP-based networking has enabled the evolution of ProAV. You will need to understand the basics of network classes, IP addressing, the type of IP versions that exist, reserved IP ranges, subnet masks, default gateways, self-assigned IP addresses, and many other topics we will cover in future videos. ProAV is also joined by the broadcasting community in its evolution into the digital world. Many broadcasting technologies are IP-based today. SMPTE 2112 and AES 67 are also topics we will cover in the future videos. Before we get ahead of ourselves, I'll go over the basics first. I will cover some of the basic tools and understanding you should have if you're ever interested in joining the ProAV or broadcast field.